I'm Caitlin Hamstra with Birchwood Foods, and we're back at IPPE.
I'm Pernesia Nellum with OSI Group, and we're headed to go talk to Shawn at C.
We're going to talk about sustainability
and food security. Let's go.
Hi, Shawn. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and C.
Well, sure. Caitlin, Pernesia, it's great having you here. I'm Shawn Harris. I have responsibility for the proteins business for CRYOVAC brand, food packaging, C, or the Sealed Air Corporation. I've been around for 29 years now with bachelor's and master's in meat science. And the way I look at it is the CRYOVAC brand, we're part of the food chain. We're just the tail end of it. And if we don't do what we do the right way, everybody's work upstream, from whether it's a further processor, a harvester, or the farmer themselves, that effort's wasted. And so we're proud to be a part of the Meat Institute. We're certainly proud to be a sponsor of the Emerging Leaders Program.
So we're both emerging leaders. And so what prompted you to want to support this program?
It is about people. And these businesses don't run without good people. And one thing that I've learned is I've been lifted up by people on their shoulders. And so paying it forward, putting people on your shoulders, on your back, helping you to become a better person, a better employee, is going to make this thing click.
Awesome.
And we're proud to do it.
We really appreciate
Really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
You mentioned how you were part of the process, the end process. And network-wide, we've had issues with CO2, right? The last year and a half, we've had like force majeures with the amount of CO2 we can get into the plants. So what role do you play at C in helping us reduce those issues?
Well, one thing is the food business is an interesting business because it's very cyclical. Food versus anything else is the cattle and the pigs are going to keep coming. So for us, it's having the right product, package, equipment, services to keep the plants operating at the most efficient level as possible. And so it's understanding enough about your business to anticipate the highs and the lows and to make sure that we can get things to you just in time. And then also making sure that as supply chains tighten, whether it's the CO2 or another ingredient inside a package, that we're able to produce it as efficiently and get it to you in time so you can run your business the way you need to.
To piggyback on that question, so what innovations does CRYOVAC Sealed Air have that can help with the contingency planning of it all?
Well, it's interesting because, there was a few years ago, there was an ethylene vinyl alcohol, or EVOH, crisis. 70% of the world's production of EVOH is in Houston, Texas, or within a 2-hour drive of Houston, Texas. And those plants are hurricane proof. They can take a flood, but they had 3 days of freezing temperatures, sub-zero. And so when they went offline, they didn't come up online and producing as fast as they could. So what we did, we had to look for alternatives to EVOH. We didn't go ever to force majeure, but we did go to allocations. We looked at different ways of doing things, and because of that, we came out of that stronger. And actually, one of those products we're still selling, and we are literally looking at discontinuing it in the next 30 days, but we'll always have it on the shelf, and hopefully we never need it again. Wow. So again, it's being flexible with your operations and not taking no for an answer and continuing to push through and drive through.
Does C have a zero waste to landfill policy or program?
We have a goal.
Okay, cool.
So, it's really interesting. A lot of the things that we do aligns closely to the protein pack. And so in terms of transparency and telling that story, but it is to be zero landfill out of our plants. We actually do use a lot of our scrap or waste as energy. We'll incinerate it and use it to power things. So that's one way we do it. The other thing is many food retailers, I know that, OSI typically is a little more food service as opposed to retail. Birchwood actually is both.
Yes.
Retail and food service. And so with that, a lot of your major retail goals are to have some type of recyclability or circularity on that. And it's interesting, even if you're designed for recycle, once it touches food, it can't go into the recycle stream for plastic. And so we need to be looking at different ways to do that. And Thankfully, Juliana and the Meat Institute are looking at packaging as one of their new initiatives. And so firmly believe that a rising tide floats all boats. And so CRYOVAC brand, we are committed to being part of that leadership. But what you have to do, and the way we have to look at it, is different models, different people that we're going to be bringing to the table. But how do we collect the waste, whether it's coming from a harvest facility into yours? That's a great collection area, because now we can get a lot of it, but it has to be cleaned. It has to be compacted. So that means baled, put together a different way. And then ultimately, you have to go through different processes. And that's not going to be just simply grinding and cutting. You guys are coming to our plant in Simpsonville later this week.
Yep.
What you see is those resins are very special that go into that. And you have a lot of the driving force behind that is the recyclers of plastic.
Okay.
And so they're the ones that are demanding pure streams, linear low density polyethylene. That's an ice bag. It's not the packaging material that you use. It's the EVOH that I referenced. It's bulk layers. You have to have nylon in there to provide strength and abrasion resistance. If you go to straight polyethylene, we'd have to have it this thick. And that's not sustainable either.
Gotcha.
So how can we come through and not necessarily break the paradigm of being a mechanical recycler, but look at gasification, chemical recycling, and we're actually doing some of those things now that we're trialing them out. And then ultimately, to be sustainable, it has to be everybody in that chain has to have a business model that sustains the business. Nobody's going to do it for free. And at the end of the line, somebody's got to pay for it. Is it going to be your company? Is it going to be your company? Is it going to be my company? Or is it going to be the consumer? So how do we do it to where we don't add so much cost that it's still viable? And that's what we want to spearhead that. We want to lead that effort, but we cannot do it by ourselves.
So now what about food security?
Well, there's different ways to go about that. And, referenced at the beginning, if we don't do our job well, then all the efforts upstream are for naught. Because there's several goals that packaging accomplishes. One is to protect the product that's inside there, provide it safely, extend the shelf life, which enables more food security. And the last thing is how you can communicate to an end user on pack. So it has to stand up on the shelf, so you want to buy this as opposed to that.
Right.
How do you do that? So packaging is one of those ways of doing that. But again, if you don't go to frozen or some other way, how do you get those calories? And it's simply calories from point A to point B. And it doesn't matter what channel. Is it the food service channel? Is it the retail channel?
Yeah.
And the newest channel is home delivery. So leak proof and compact are a big part of that food security and getting that to the end mile.
So one of my interests is, how do you support your customers in ensuring that they're doing the packaging correctly? And how do we make sure that folks are adequately trained, or if there's an issue, how do you support your customers in ensuring that that happens the right way?
But we actually have a system now called AMP, Advanced Maintenance Program, where whether it's the on-pack or the rotary chamber, we will come in and we can remotely monitor it. So literally on that wall is a line that it can be monitored from the CEO's office,
Wow.
the production office. But part of the AMP is we will come in and have a parts program. We'll do a quarterly inspection, make sure everything's supposed to be doing the way it's supposed to be doing, and then an annual overhaul where we will come up side by side with you, tear it down, rebuild it. The way we look at it is unexpected downtime is more costly than planned downtime.
Absolutely.
So how can we minimize the opportunity for unexpected downtime? And that's the AMP program, backed by the what we would call insights, and actually what we're trying to collect enough data to where we can predict failure before it happens. And that's where we're trying to skate to. Good question.
That's
a good
great.
partnership to have.
That is great. I know that as a learning and development professional, we really rely on our partners to ensure that the training that we do is accurate, it's correct, and that we can really make sure that it's safe and the food is safe.
And being a global company too, we have all of those programs, training programs, et cetera, multi-language. This show is interesting because it's an international show. We're showing a lot of things that are valuable to the Latin American market, so South America, Central America. So there's things specifically in the booth that are geared towards that probably not going to be used in North America as much because it's just a different market, different needs.
So I have to ask you, your tag says, ask me about our new compostable tray. So will you please tell us about your new compostable tray?
So the compostable tray is first of its kind in the world. We actually debuted it here. It's in commerce. But what it'll do is it will compost in a commercial composting unit, or we're still finishing the testing to backyard home compost within 6 months. So the only thing that's left, this lenticular badge kind of shows it, is there's the tray, and over time, there's nothing left but dirt. Awesome. And so it's not biodegradable, so there are no microplastics. So it's marine and land compostable. And needless to say, we are extremely excited about it because what you're seeing is, particularly on the coast, all the bans on polystyrene. Yeah. The replacement now has been some type of polyester tray, PET, which is actually less sustainable. We sell them, but there's more plastic in it. And so it uses more resources. The other thing is it's tougher to package, so you have more leakers. Leakers are bad because now you get chicken juice on your vegetables. Right. And so what we're doing with this will drop into existing equipment with no changes whatsoever. Perfect. It is a drop-in replacement.
That's perfect.
So what would you say to folks who are hesitant to move to something that's compostable? You know, some people, they're comfortable with what they have, they really like it. What do you say to them to convince them that this is the way forward, this is the future?
The added benefit is the end, because there is going to be no recyclability under our existing systems. This you don't need to worry about recycle. This is not just an end-of-life story because it just disappears, is it's a front-of-life story because now you don't have to change your process at all to utilize it. There are very few drop-ins. Don't like using the word, but this is as drop-in can be.
And this really helps us contribute to achieving our protein pack goals.
It's the transparency. It lowers the carbon footprint. It's truly not circular because there is no need to circle. It disappears.
Thank you so much, Shawn, for having us. We really appreciate it.